unto us, prabhu. O Lord. Translation, purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada Ki. Vidura inquired from Maitreya, O my Lord, O gentle learned sage, kindly describe eternal time, which is another form of the Supreme Lord, the wonderful actor. What are the symptoms of that eternal time? Please describe them to us in detail. Please repeat. Vidura inquired from Maitreya, O my Lord, O greatly learned sage, kindly describe eternal time, which is another form of the Supreme Lord, the wonderful actor. What are the symptoms of that eternal time? Please describe them to us in detail. The complete universe is a manifestation of varieties of entities, beginning from the atoms up to the gigantic universe itself. And all is under the control of the Supreme Lord in His form of Kala, or eternal time. The controlling time has different dimensions in relation to particular physical embodiments. There is a time for atomic dissolution and a time for universal dissolution. There is a time for the annihilation of the body of the human being, and there is a time for the annihilation of the universal body. Also, growth, development, and resultant actions all depend on the time factor. Vidura wanted to know in detail the different physical manifestations and their times of annihilation. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gana Gana Shalakaya Chakshya Mitanyaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So there's this word kala, or time, in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna explains 5 topics. Does anyone remember what those 5 topics are? The soul, material nature, time, and karma. So time is one of the topics that Krishna explains about in the Bhagavad Gita. And the time factor has this ability or a potency which brings everything to its knees. Nothing escapes, in this world anyway, nothing escapes the power of time, or this Kala chakra. Like Krishna has his Sudarshan chakra, so it's described that this Kala chakra is like a weapon that brings everything to its knees, slowly just decays everything away. Whether that happens fast or it happens over a very long period of time, it's just a matter of time. So we all end up in the same position, which is the end comes to us as human beings, and even to the entire universe at some point. So there's, in the purport, Prabhupada says something interesting. The controlling time has different dimensions in relation to particular physical embodiments. And David was talking a bit about this yesterday in his class, how in the universe, and even on this planet, time appears differently. It manifests differently, I guess you could say. And depending on the physical embodiment of the different species in this life, in this world, then their lifespans can be quite short, and in some cases quite long. So you can have like an ant. I'm not sure exactly how long they live, but they don't live that long. Maybe a couple of weeks, like Sujani. Bees, I'm sure you said 2 weeks they live. So different insects, different marsupials, different reptiles, different mammals. According to the physical embodiment they have and the body that they have, time affects them differently. And as human beings, the same principle applies to us. And that embodiment is, if you look at it from a different perspective, it is because of the level of consciousness of that body, not of that body, but of the soul who's animating that body. Like in the mode, like an animal, it's said to be in the mode of ignorance. So in the mode of ignorance, there is a certain influence, and you reside within a certain type of body. And for humans, when we're in the mode of ignorance, I'm not sure if there's any evidence to suggest that, but I'm sure that they probably don't live as long as someone in the mode of goodness, for whatever reasons. Mostly because they don't use their human form of life well. And it even says that in the Bhagavatam, in the age of Kali, because of our activities, our lives are shortened, and our activities are a manifestation of our state of consciousness. So if you go up to like the Himalayas, there's yogis up there that live 200, 300, 400 years because of their practice, of their yoga practice, and also because of their state of consciousness. So we can see within the human form of life, from the mode of ignorance to someone in the mode of goodness, there is a capacity to lengthen our lives. And back in Satya Yuga, people would live 100,000 years. And in Kali Yuga, we live 100 years. And that's more often, well, because of the activities and the state of consciousness of the humans in Kali Yuga. That's why we don't live as long as they used to in Satya Yuga. There's other reasons, of course, but it's one of the reasons. So if you take this same principle and you apply it to other aspects of the universe, then time doesn't if you look at the higher beings within the universe, their concept of time is different to ours. So just like we look at an ant or a bee and we say, oh, they only live 2 weeks, and we live such a long time, 80, 90 years maybe. So when these higher beings with higher levels of consciousness who live for much longer periods of time, when they look at planet Earth, especially in Kali Yuga, we're like the insects. We only live a very short time. For them, they live thousands and thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years, millions of years even. So their lifespan for us is inconceivable, because our experience is, someone lives to 100 years of age, it's like, wow. It's like they get a letter from the king now. It's like, it's a great achievement to live to 100 years. So time manifests differently according to the type of embodiment that we have. So the higher beings, their body is much more subtle also. Less influences of the modes of nature, and their activities are much more beneficial for living a longer time, I guess. So Prabhupada is saying here also that there is a time for everything in this world to come to an end. And we're all running around in this world thinking it's never going to happen to us. It's never going to happen to us. But we see it all around us. Yudhisthira Maharaj was asked this question in the Mahabharata, and that's what he said. He said, we see everybody's life coming to an end, but we never think it's going to happen to us. He said, this is the most amazing thing in this world. We never think it's going to happen to us. But the time factor is very unforgiving in the sense that its job, its function, is to bring everything to its knees. In the Bhagavad Gita, in the 11th chapter, when Arjuna asked to see the universal form, at first he was amazed and in awe of the universal form, but then that form began to change, and Krishna began to show him this form of eternal time, and Arjuna gets very scared. He's starting to see all of these soldiers and all kinds of things running into the mouth of this form of time, and it said that there's flames were coming from the mouth of this form of eternal time, and all the soldiers and everybody in the universe itself was all rushing into the mouth of this form. So Arjuna asked this question, like he's become very afraid now, and he says, "Who are you in this form here?" And Krishna says, "This is my form as eternal time. I am time. I am," he says. "I have come to destroy all the worlds." So there is nothing in this world that escapes this time factor. And in the sequence of creation, time is one of the first energies that enter into the Mahatattva, and then from there the three modes begin to manifest also. I was also again towards the end of the purport, not only the bodies but according to time, different things in our lives begin to manifest. For example, when we're little babies, we grow, and then we will become like teenagers, and the body begins to mature. So as the body has matured, then there's a function that can happen that couldn't happen before as a child. So according to time, there's different things or different periods of growth, manifestation of the potency for a woman to be able to bear a child. As a young girl, she can't do that, but as she matures into teenage years and adulthood, that function becomes manifest because of time. So there's many, and it's interesting because it says, like in science also, that every 7 years, every cell within the body is replaced, but still we age. Like we still get old. We get the wrinkles, we get the droop, we get the grey hairs, we get all that kind of stuff. But if you look at it scientifically, it's like our body should be regenerating every 7 years. We should have a new body every 7 years. But it doesn't happen like that. And our skin, for example, every 2 weeks, we get a new skin. Still doesn't feel like that. And again, this is because of this time factor. The scientists, they can't grasp this concept. So there's millions of beauty products, there's millions of ways that we try to hold on to our youth, but it doesn't matter how hard we try, this factor of time is relentless. It doesn't give us any relief. In the Bhagavatam and other places, it also explains a little bit, well, a lot, about how they measure time in the Vedic understanding. I'm not even going to go there because I don't understand it at all. But there's quite an interesting explanation of how the sun, as it's traveling around, traveling on its orbit around Mount Meru in the 5th canto, and explains how the seasons and how all these different day and night and all these kind of things take place because of the different aspects of this time factor. So the sun is playing a part in manifesting day and night, and different seasons, and all kinds of things like this. Where are we up to here, Krishna? So this is Canto 5, Chapter 21, the movements of the sun. Sukadeva Goswami said, "My dear king, I have thus described the diameter of the universe of 4 billion miles and its general characteristics according to the estimation of learned scholars. As a grain of wheat is divided into 2 parts, and one can estimate the size of the upper part by knowing that of the lower, so expert geographers instruct one can understand the measurements of the upper part of the universe by knowing those of the lower part. The sky between the... Oh, sorry, I've gone back too far here. Yeah, in the midst of the region of outer space, Antariksha is the most opulent sun, the king of all the planets that emanate heat, such as the moon. By the influence of its radiation, the sun heats the universe and maintains its proper order. It also gives light to help all living entities see. While passing towards the north, towards the south, or through the equator, in accordance with the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is said it moves slowly, swiftly, or moderately, according to its movements in rising above, going beneath, or passing through the equator, and correspondingly coming in touch with various signs of the zodiac, headed by Makara, Capricorn. Days and nights are short, long, or equal to one another. When the sun passes through Mesha, Aries, and Tula, Libra, the durations of day and night are equal. When it passes through the 5 signs headed by Vrishabha, Taurus, the duration of the days increase until Cancer, and then it gradually decreases by half an hour each month until day and night again become equal in Libra. When the sun passes through the 5 signs beginning with Vrishaka, Scorpio, the duration of days decreases until Capricorn, and then gradually it increases month after month until day and night become equal in Aries. Until the sun travels to the south, the days grow longer, and until it travels to the north, the nights grow longer. Sukadeva Goswami continued, "My dear king, as stated before, the learned say that the sun travels over all sides of Manasarova mountain in a cycle whose length is, wait for it, 760,800,000 miles. On Manasarova Mountain, due east of Mount Sumeru, is a place known as Devadani, possessed by King Indra. Similarly, in the south is a place known as Samyamani, possessed by Yamaraj. In the west is a place known as Nilokani, possessed by Varuna. And in the north is a place named Vibhavari, possessed by the moon god. Sunrise, midday, sunset, and midnight occur in all those places according to specific times, thus engaging all living entities in their various occupational duties and also making them cease such duties. So that's another thing the sun does. When we wake up in the morning, there's specific duties we perform in the morning, and we keep going through the day. We eat at certain times. This is all due to time. Our life is so scheduled. The living entities residing on Sumeru Mountain are always very warm, as at midday, because for them the sun is always overhead. Although the sun moves counterclockwise, facing the constellations, with Sumeru Mountain on its left, it also moves clockwise and appears to have the mountain on its right because it is influenced by the Dakshinavata wind. People living in countries at points diametrically opposite to the sun, to where the sun is, first see sun rising, will see the sun setting. And if a straight line were drawn from a point where the sun is at midday, the people in countries on the opposite end of the line would be experiencing midnight. Similarly, if people residing where the sun is setting were to go to countries diametrically opposite, they would see the sun in the same condition. When the sun travels from Devadani, the residence of Indra, to Samyamani, the residence of Yamaraj, it travels 190,200,000 miles in 15 gatikas, which is 6 hours. From the residence of Yamaraj, the sun travels to Nimlochani, the residence of Varuna. From there to Vibhavari, the residence of the moon god, and from there again to the residence of Indra. In a similar way, the moon, along with the other stars and planets, becomes visible in the celestial sphere, and then sets again, becomes invisible. Thus the chariot of the sun, which is Trihimaya, or worshipped by the words Ombo Vavaswa, travels through the 4 residents mentioned above at the speed of 27,206,040 miles per hour. Oh, that's in a Muhurta. So Muhurta is an hour and a half. Is that right? The chariot of the sun god has only one wheel. Oh, okay, I won't keep going here. So it's interesting how time and how the different elements within this world all run according to time. Like, I sit out there in that chair every morning chanting my rounds, and in winter the sun is right up this way, and now it's getting, we're in October, it's coming back to about here, but by the end it'll be over here. And you can pretty much bet your bottom dollar every year it does exactly the same thing. So the seasons, everything is so much precision there according to the effect of time, and of course Krishna's energies are all working together to make it all happen, with all these planets in the same place and rotating at this and that. And so the universe is, you can't conceive of what's going on in the universe. In the next chapter, Sukadeva Goswami explains how how this Kala Chakra is actually turning within the universe. And from the North Pole, which is Dhruvaloka, there's all these kind of strings of wind that are connecting all the stars and the planets. And Prabhupada explains in one of his purports that is all turning according to time at a certain speed. But then the zodiac, which is around the outside of the universe, is turning at a different speed. And I don't really understand it all so much, but I find it fascinating. I would really one day like to be able to understand it much better, but maybe I'll stop here, and if somebody can explain it much better, I'll leave it to them. Maharaj, do you have a... Anybody have any comments, corrections? Questions?
It wasn't yet, just the part I heard you mention how the Kala Chakra, so the wheel of time. Sometimes we hear the description, the snake of time. So, and also I was listening to Divya and it was saying Sudarshan Chakra also kind of represents time, and he's the weapon of Lord Krishna. So when it's referring to the wheel of time and the snake, time is complete to a snake. Is that referring to it metaphorically, or like as a person, like that time is a personality?
Well, time is a personality. Yeah, he's Krishna himself. As far as the snake, I guess as far as creatures, a snake can end your life pretty fast, especially if you come across a brown snake and he's not happy. So I think it's more of a metaphorical, I don't know personally, but it feels like it's a more metaphorical thing, whereas the Kala Chakra is explaining that the chakra is as a weapon also, which takes away our life. Anyone else?
Thinking like the time as the planets, as this planet is revolving around the sun, we get seasons, and like everything seems so stable. But apparently, according to science, we're travelling at about 700 kilometres per hour through space. Totally inconceivable.
Well, then you want to blow your mind even more. You go to the Vedic perspective, like it's not even the Earth; it's not moving at all. Everything else is moving around the Earth. But I'm not any. I can't say too much about this, but I heard that Einstein said one time that it's just a matter of perspective, whether it's a heliocentric or geocentric universe. By the measurements they have, it's only because of where we're trying to take the measurements from, we can't perceive whether it is actually geocentric or heliocentric. But he said it's inconsequential because everything's still going on anyway. We put this one in the middle of that one. But according to the Vedas, the Earth is, on the Bhumandala platform, or part of the universe, and the sun rotates around, and some planets rotate around. I think it's Mercury and Venus, they rotate around the sun. So the sun is going like this, and then you have Venus and Mercury going around, and the other planets just go around the Earth as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what I'm being led to believe. So yeah, that's why you get these retrograde movements of, especially Mercury. It's like quite a few times in the year it goes into retrograde and just causes havoc in the world. Yeah. Lucas?
Thanks for the class. I was just going to ask about you speaking about the ants and the us. We kind of experience time different, but it's kind of relative, right? So how does that kind of relate to our karma with the how we receive time as well? Because we can all be kind of in a human body, but like if we're in a distressful time, it feels like it's going on forever, you know. But then like when we're in a happy time, it just flies by, and that can kind of be. It feels like there's some relation there, but I don't know. It's not really a question. It's more like an observation. But what you know.
Yeah, it's true. You know, when you go on the altar here, and you're working on the altar, 2 hours, just like that, it's gone. And you know, you can be doing something you're not so absorbed in, or you're not really interested in, and just seems to take forever. So that absorption, that focus of your consciousness, like, I'm not sure if the time has actually sped up or slowed down, but our perception of it is that, wow, that went so fast. Well, this is like, oh my God, it's like this is taking forever. So, but definitely we can experience that in our lives. You know, like when you're a child, also things seem to be so big and everything took so long. Like to go drive to town would be like, seemed to take a long time. But then I remember when we were kids, we used to go camping in this one place, and I remember as kids we would walk along the beach and it seemed to take forever, and we would get to this creek and we'd swim in the creek. Couldn't do that now because you get eaten by a crocodile, but back then it was okay. And I went to the same place and I walked along, and it was like only a couple 100 meters down the road, but it seemed to take forever to walk. And I walked back and forth a couple of times because I'm thinking maybe the mouth of the creek has moved, because it can't happen like that. The river changes direction. But it was only 200 or 300 meters walking along the beach as an adult, but as a child it seemed to take forever. So yeah, we can have that experience of the time feeling like it's changing. But Prabhu?
But it feels like also that with the time, is it spiritual or material or time? Like, what would you classify?
It's eternal?
Eternal.
Yeah. Like, out of the 5 things that Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, the soul, Krishna, karma is the only one that's not eternal. Time and what's the other one? Jiva, Krishna, action, karma.
In full Krishna consciousness, right, you wouldn't experience time, would you, because it's eternal, but then time's eternal as well, so how does that work? Because time is bringing, like, you feel time go by, but then when you're with Krishna consciousness, that's eternal, so there's no time.
Well, that's in the spiritual world. Time is inconspicuous by its absence, it says. So there appears to be a duration of the day, and then the night comes, but it's not. It's not like time how we experience it. It's all for Krishna's pastimes. So the sun comes up, everything is going on, but there's no passing of time. It's all for Krishna's pastimes in the spiritual world. Here, there's a progression through time.
Thank you for the effort of explaining an unexplainable thing. I have a question about, you talked about the destructive nature of time. And I wonder, how is it possible, to, also as a devotee, to work with time and not against time? In the sense that you can see even, within the Vedic scriptures, the day is divided, as you said, in muhurtas, and there are certain muhurtas that are really good for certain times, like for getting up and meditating and eating and this and that. And you can also see it when you have small children. If you change a rhythm, they go crazy. We do the same in our own lives, and we don't feel it so much maybe. And also the thing of living in the future, in the past, or in the present. So in the sense that, as a devotee, how to work with, because it's an energy of Krishna, to surf the wave. So to say, the wave is very destructive, but if you surf it, you can get a lot of energy out of it to use it in a proper way. I would like to know if you could deepen a little bit more about that.
How we can use time. Well, I would say for a devotee, the best way that we can utilize that time is understanding that it's limited. We're only here for a certain time, so not to waste time. We tend to waste a lot of time, myself included, and sometimes we need downtime, as we say. But a lot of time we're just wasting time. So you will see, Prabhupada, he just didn't waste time. And he was very structured in how he set out his day. He had a plan for what he was doing in the day, and as soon as one thing's finished, on to the next thing. This one's finished, on to the next thing. And so it's I think that's what I could offer, is just try to utilize our time better. Because we can all definitely do that. And the quality of the things that we're doing could more often than not be much better also. So understanding that we don't want to waste time, but what we are doing with our time could also be upgraded. Yeah. Dharma's spiritual master, Vaisheshika Prabhu, he's so enthusiastic, it's he just doesn't waste a second. Any time he has spare, if he has a moment spare, he's strategically placed mantra cards all around his home, just in case he's got a spare moment. So he takes it to that extent, but we may or may not be at that level, but whatever we can do, moving towards that. Because every second we lose, we can't get it back. It doesn't matter how much money we got, how smart we are. That second, it's gone. We can't get it back. So to try and utilize that time more beneficially. It's hard, but it's something we can all do. I know I'm speaking for myself. Yeah. Anything else? Kantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki?